Okay, hi everyone. This is Kelly Boone here from Tech and Learning. Thank you everyone for attending today's Tech and Learning Virtual Leadership Summit. A special thank you to our sponsors, Guide K-12, Now Forecast 5 Analytics, MediaSite, Prezi, Nuriva, and Boxlight. I'd like to remind everyone to log into the Conference Hub using the links that were sent in your confirmation email. Once you're logged in, you can visit sponsor booths. Each sponsor also has a Zoom meeting room. Throughout the conference, you'll see there are some buttons to enter the Passport to Prizes. Every time you find a button, you'll get 1 entry. However, if you do Zoom meet with one of our exhibitors, you get 20 entries into the Passport to Prizes, and we will announce those winners at the end of the conference. Also on the Conference Hub, you'll see your personalized agenda. You can edit your sessions that you're registered for by logging in and changing your registration. You'll see buttons to do that as well, and that will automatically update your personalized agenda page. You can also network with today's attendees and speakers and sponsors through the registrant directory and chat features. So you can actually book one-to-one meetings. And then you can access all of today's conference resources in the download and resources section of the Conference Hub. Yesterday's presentations are already up there. The video recordings should just about be done buffering and should be up there any second now. And then just before we begin, a couple housekeeping items. If you have questions for the presenters during this session, you can submit them through the chat feature. If we get to the live Q&A portion, everyone is able to unmute themselves. So once we say it's time for Q&A, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. And then the last but not least, be sure to use the conference hashtag TLTechLive in any of your social media posts. So I'm now going to pass it over. I think Matthew Joseph is going to go ahead and moderate today's session.
He is, since when?
So Phil is here now, so he'll be taking that over for this session, I think.
How about it? All right, well, let's kick this thing off. I will first say welcome to everybody. Thank you for attending today to this wonderful Friday presentation. I think Tech and Learning has done an amazing job of putting together a true virtual summit. And so I give kudos to Tech and Learning. This tool is amazing. And I think you're gonna learn a lot today. So we have a great lineup, and we're gonna start off with the lineup for today's session is called Professional Development, Virtual Professional Development, as you can see on your screen there, micro-credentials and badging and implementing a culture of learning and success. And we have some great professionals that are the top of their game to be able to present and talk about this topic. I'll just add a little bit. I love the idea of badging and micro-credentials. It's something that we did in my former district, starting about 8 years ago, really, and developed a thing called the D56 Tech Trek. And it was a virtual game board. We gamified it, and then we added badging, and it was all based off the SAMR model, and teachers loved it. They were earning points. That ultimately gave them the opportunity to have a day off of work if they earned enough points. So it was that was a motivating factor for most teachers, as opposed to like a little gift card, which was something else they could have won with their points. But I'm excited to hear what our panelists have to say about that today. So we have first off, we'll start with ladies first, Eileen Bellistock, who is the new Director of Technology and Information for Nauset Public Schools. We also have Nicole Taylor, if she's in the room. If not, hopefully she'll be getting in the room. She's the Instructional Technology Coordinator of Life School. And last but not least, Dr. Matthew Joseph, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Leicester Public Schools. Did I pronounce that right, Matt?
Yes, it's actually pronounced Leicester. Can you try that one?
Sure, Leicester.
No, I'm kidding. You got it right. Leicester is how you do it.
That's what I thought I heard you say at one point in time. So I know you have a good slideshow and all that. So take it away. We've got a lot of good information coming right your way right now.
Great. I'm going to just share my screen. Don't let me. I am having so many technical difficulties today. Okay, let's see if this will work.
I bet it will.
I am such a professional, right here? Okay.
You got
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. Yay. So just to premise this, I am a professional. I have a new job, so I don't have a new computer yet. So I'm working off my old Mac, which does not allow for the updated version of Zoom. So I don't have a virtual background. And I also have a neurotic little dog here who I am watching. So I apologize if life is happening as I'm doing this.
Is that a virtual dog I hear?
Oh my goodness. 10 pounds of neuroses, that's, I tell you that. Anyways, hi. So I'm going to talk a little bit about virtual professional development. And as you can see, I am, as of last Monday, the new Director of Technology and Information for Nauset Public Schools, which if you don't know where Nauset Public Schools are, it's on the lower Cape Cod. So I've moved to a small rural district in northern Berkshires, Massachusetts, to a lovely tourist community of Cape Cod. So that's what my story is right now. So you know, we all did a lot of surveys in the middle of all this school closings. You know, we did when we first closed, we did teacher remote learning surveys. We did it, some of us did it at the end or in the middle. And now we're starting to look at getting that feedback from teachers on, you know, how can we support them as tech directors and ed tech professionals in our fields on how we can, you know, make sure that while we support our students, we really need to support our teachers first, because they're the ones who are in the front lines of all this. And oh, there's the dog. You know, so some of the things that came up and have been pretty consistent throughout all the surveys that we've done is the fact that they you know, they're stressed. Everything is high stress level. There's a sense of urgency, connectivity issues, lack of time, you know, unrealistic expectations of you know, moving from a brick and mortar environment to an online learning environment. Parental and admin pressure to perform and to communicate and to engage students. And you know, sometimes there hasn't even been guidance, and not at the fault of our district leaders, but at the fault of at the state level of, you know, what does learning look like online and what are our expectations for our teachers. You know, a couple of the other things is, all right, so we have the technology, but how the heck do I incorporate this into my classes? We're using it as tools for, you know, for web conferencing, we're using LMSs, but, you know, how do we actually, we don't know how to actually integrate that technology into our curriculum. And really we've had, I feel like they feel like we've had unrealistic expectations of them, with lack of training, lack of tech support, lack of time and guidance. And, you know, they're also, on another note, being thrown free software opportunities at them through emails and social media. And, you know, they're overwhelmed. And so what I have noticed in both my districts is they're just sticking to what they know. You know, they're keeping it safe. They're keeping it contained. All right, let's go to the next page. Come on. Okay. So this is what I have seen in my two districts so far is, you know, there's challenges, minimal experience with teaching online. These teachers, we had those rock star teachers in our districts who have always had that presence. But we also have a lot of teachers who, besides sharing a Google Doc and a Google Drive, don't know what online learning looks like. As a professional development trainer, it's really difficult for teachers to be engaged in training when they're not face to face. We are all different kind of learners, and not everybody learns sitting in front of a screen watching a professional development training. Whereas if, the hands-on, face-to-face ability to get that connection with each other and whoever's presenting. And the sense of urgency is like, okay, so now everybody has to use learning management. Canvas is a learning management system at the middle high schools, and everybody at the elementary schools got to use Google Classroom, and it has to start right now or in 3 weeks when we go back to school. And also, it's what we're finding is a challenge is replication. Teachers are trying to take what they're doing in a face-to-face, in-person, brick-and-mortar environment and replicate that online. And as ed tech professionals, we all know that doesn't work. And it's not really the right use of technology. And in many cases, lack of resources, whether it's training, staff to help, lack of connectivity, lack of devices. So lack of resources means a whole lot. So based on what I've been seeing, these are some really, really strong challenges that we face. But I believe that COVID has given us many opportunities that I hope will continue to move forward and expand with this going back to school in the fall. I really would hate to see us going back to the old models, because we as tech directors and as an ed tech leaders, we've been wanting this, but not in the rapid speed that we're getting it, but we've been wanting some of these changes to happen. And professional development and training with the teachers is the only way it's going to be successful.
Never let a good crisis go to waste, or never let a good pandemic go to waste, huh?
Exactly. So I love the fact that I have teachers failing forward. They're in an online environment and they've been dying to try, working with Newsella or Edmodo or whatever. They're trying to use these products in their class, but there was never time. We have state testing, we have standards, we have all this. But what I'm finding is they're feeling like they have a safety net, that they're not under pressure to be completely successful the first time. They're having the opportunity to fail forward. I also think that we can provide training anywhere, anytime. I've done one-on-one trainings through Zoom. I've had teachers go into breakout rooms and work with each other. We have videotaped them. We've used, screen sharing, screen video tools like Screencastify to be able to record so teachers can learn at the same time. We've also realized through the surveys and through this experience that we need to have a stronger support system. This is an opportunity to us to make sure that, much like what we're going to be doing with our students in the fall, with, being able to do interventions, we need to have a strong support system to provide interventions for our teachers. I also think that this is the opportunity for us to train teachers on how to give more ownership to the teachers, so the students, so that the teacher isn't the only one in front of a Zoom screen talking, which is very difficult. It's going to be an opportunity for us to show how we can have students take more ownership of their learning. We also have an opportunity to develop more teacher leaders. There are teachers who have been quiet in the background, and this is a time when they're saying, hey, I know how to use that product, or I've incorporated these types of strategies into my classroom, and I'm okay doing it. I can do it online. I can create a video, and I would love to help. And again, the fourth industrial revolutionary educational system, we're ready. We've been ready for a while, but I don't think schools and teachers have had that same feeling. So now this is an opportunity for us to change what learning looks like. And the last thing is consistency. Is we're now in a situation where we're not in isolation anymore. While we feel like we are, we can have, like, I'm in a district that actually has 4 districts. So this is an opportunity where you can pull, the Orleans elementary school teachers to work with Brewster elementary school teachers, and have that consistency of professional development and collaboration across the board.
Tremendous.
So my last thing is these are some of my strategies, and we're all learning as we go. So definitely support teachers with diverse learning styles. Understand that much like our students, we need to personalize learning. We need to personalize training for our teachers as well. This is a big one that came up in a lot of the surveys, was integrating, oh, I didn't spell technology right, integrating technology into teaching learning process. Don't make it an add-on. This is an opportunity where students used to go into computer labs to learn typing or coding. This is an opportunity in this new world to actually look at curriculum and find ways of because we're not going to have those opportunities to send kids to their specials anymore, or their electives. It's an opportunity to say, okay, now we want the kids to learn coding. How do we integrate that into a science course on ecology, or learning about the water wheel, things like that. And model skills and strategies. There's a lot of administrators out there who don't model what they learn. And if we're expecting teachers to learn how to use particular products, especially like LMSs, which are sometimes more difficult to learn, we need to model those skills and strategies. And invest in teachers. I'm not going to spend my money on new software. I'm going to spend my money on professional development for my teachers on the current software we have. The software isn't the solution. The training is the solution. And again, invest in programs that are sustainable. We don't want to roll out a particular program, train teachers on it, and then say, oops, we're going to try using this instead. Determine what those programs are, commit to those programs, and provide the training that they need. And the last thing, which I've seen districts do, is involving parents and community members. What I'm seeing is that they're having a parent liaison for teachers who have more of a tech background, and they're working with the teachers on how to incorporate technology and teach in online learning environments. So that's my 10 minutes or so of suggestions and thoughts about virtual professional development.
Well, and I like, I have to say, I like your idea of model skills and strategies. I think that's important. You talk about investing in teachers, but the model skills and strategies, I think, you really need, as tech leaders, we need to teach our administrators. We need to take them aside and make them a professional development group. And we make them, proficient with these tools that we want them to use, then they become the role models for their schools and for their buildings. And I think that's really important because then they can set the expectations as well. And to add to your community member aspect on the bottom down there, I think that's important. I also think it's important to involve some students, because students, a lot of times we have to create a culture where teachers aren't afraid to learn from the students, and don't feel any shame in learning from students, because sometimes the students have a better idea and have a good idea of how to integrate a piece of technology in their classroom. And so rely on the students. I think that's important as well. So good stuff there, Eileen. I appreciate your commentary there. And I'd like to move on to Nicole. Nicole Taylor has joined us in our room here, and she is the Instructional Technology Coordinator at Life School, and you can follow her at K-N-I-K-O-L-E. We love the way you spell your name, Nicole.
Thank
And
you.
take it away.
Good morning. You can thank my dad for that spelling. So all kudos to the daddy, because I can get my name everywhere. Yeah, it's usually not taken. I really enjoyed Eileen's talk about professional development, along with that beautiful scenery. Like, I want to be there with her. It looks really nice. My name is Nicole Taylor, and I am the Instructional Technology Coordinator with Life School. We are an open enrollment charter school with 9 campuses, serving kids from K through 12th grade in 2 different counties in the Dallas, Texas area. And so today, I really am just going to take some time to brag on the teachers that I support, because they have really taken this whole spirit of personalized professional development and just run with it. We were already kind of tinkering around with it Pandemic, I feel like that's where life is now. Like we talk about like what happened before and then like what's going to happen after. And so they were already kind of toying around with this a little here and a little there before the pandemic. But I just feel like even post-pandemic, once we are even able to offer more like face-to-face things, that this will just continue to soar. So I'm just going to brag on us a little bit. So I want to first point back to this book, Personalized PD. This has become like one of my professional development Bibles. I was a classroom teacher for a number of years before moving into an instructional coaching role. I've only been in the ed tech space about 4 years. So I'm a teaching and learning girl, pedagogy and content. And so everything that I do really revolves around this book and how I can really pull teachers in to give them exactly what they need, because I want to model that, because as I give teachers exactly what they need, I've learned that in turn, they take that same model back to the classroom and they want to give kids exactly what they need. And ultimately, the goal is to, for the learning to transpire into what kids are able to do. And so just a few guiding questions that I use that come from this book when I am planning PD or talking to teachers, and I'll kind of walk you through what that looks like at Life School, is what should professional development look like? Because I want that to also mirror, like, what do we want teaching and learning to look like? The ultimate goal, the center of every single thing that we do for professional development is for the success of the students. And so I really try to frame everything we do around how will this make teachers, help teachers give kids exactly what they need? How will this transpire into successful learners? Can all teachers get exactly what they need so that in return, all students are able to get exactly what they need? And how do we energize every individual to realize their full potential through professional development so that in the classroom, whether it's remote, hybrid, brick and mortar, all of our students are also engaged, energized, and receiving exactly what they need so that they can be successful individually.
Okay, Nicole, before you move on, we did get a question in the chat of who is the author of the book there that you
this is by Jason Bretzman, I believe. And you can actually search the hashtag too, Personalized PD. They once had a very a really good chat, but I don't know what has happened with that chat, but I need a new book because it's rather worn.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So a quote from this book, Personalized PD meets all educators where they are and seeks to help each individual move forward at their own pace and towards self-determined goals. So what sticks out to that with me is that if I'm really personalizing learning, and I just see teachers as learners, we're just adult learners, right? A school district is just full of learners. We serve different roles, but adults are simply just full-size learners. So when I am planning personalized PD, it should meet the need of all educators or learners, and it should seek to help, not check a box, not simply practice new things, not push in the latest craze or the latest fad, but I want to meet needs and I want to help. If it doesn't do those things, then there's no need in even bringing it to the teachers that I support. I think this is, if you guys can't tell, I really love this book, but I think this is the last slide about this book. And I'll kind of give you some background. As an instructional coach, you kind of support teachers the way you were supported. And so I went in, and this was a few years ago, with a plan that, I'll just look at data. I'll see what teachers have done, and then I'll tell them what they need. I was introduced to this book after sitting with teachers, and I'll kind of walk you through the plan that I use to help teachers goal set for their professional learning. I kind of sat with teachers and I said, look, based on the data, this is what you need. How will we make it happen? Then I read this book that talked about giving teachers choice, giving them voice, asking them what they need, and then meeting them where they are and providing that. Met with teachers before the winter break and just said, hey, based on data, this is what I think you need. Of course, teachers just like students have learned how to do school, teachers know how to do school and just play the game and nod their head and not be all in. And so we went through that process with all about 20 teachers that I was supporting at that time. And after I read this book, when we came back in January, I went back through and I met with all the teachers. We balled up all those plans and we started over because I didn't give them choice. Nothing was personalized. It was just like a one size fits all. So when we provide choice, these are the things that we want to include in that personalized PD. And so these are things that I honor anytime I'm providing professional development. It should show constant progress. So it's not enough to say that teachers are moving from point A to point B, but in our district, we really, coordinators, instructional coaches, administrators, we don't provide any professional development that we are not monitoring progress, that we don't have a way to go back and see where was this successful or how was it successful. It should honor the professionals. We all want to be honored and we want to have voice in the things that we do. I know that giving teachers a voice was a huge shift. When I sit with teachers and say, like, what do you want to learn? It's generally a back and forth at first with, no, what do you think I need? No, you have a voice in this. So I want to honor them as professionals and I want to see what it is that they need. It's ongoing learning. It's not a one and done. It's a constant check and balances of where are you and where do you need to be. It's individualized focus. Yes, I have tons of teachers. Yes, each teacher sets their own goal. Yes, I work with them to meet that goal because we all have individual professional needs and goals. And the blanketed approach of one size fits all for professional learning, that does not work. I don't want to bore. Going back to the quote, the main purpose is to help. It's also collaborative learning. I strongly believe that anytime, I'll forever be a teacher, so I try to jump in classrooms as often as possible too. So whether you're leading classroom instruction or leading professional development, teaching and learning should always be a reciprocal process where the lead learner or the facilitator of learning is opening the door to learn from the learners. So it's always going to be collaborative, never centering myself as the professional development facilitator, as the knower of all things, but rather it's a two-way street. It's reciprocal. I'm giving and I'm taking as learners are sharing with me. And it's an energizing experience, of course. I wake up like this. I have energy. I do, always, every day, all day. But my thing is, if it's not something that I feel like would grow teachers or not something that I feel like learners could latch on to, then I have to go back to the drawing board. It should be a fun, energizing experience. So in Life School, we actually sit and I talk to teachers, and this is something that we kind of played around with for a little while, just with like cohorts of teachers, 10 teachers here and then 30 and then 40. And now we have about 400 teachers. And I would say right now we're using this plan with about 300 of our teachers who have gone through and actually identified like what is it that they feel like they need to learn. And so we set a personalized PD plan around instructional technology. And so, I'm a teaching and learning girl. I'm pedagogy and content. That's always where we start. And technology is just the icing. And it's a real sweet, tasty icing on top, because it makes things better, but that's not where we start. So I walk teachers through the process of setting a goal, and we look at a plan of support, and then they let me know, like, what do you want to do and what do you need me to do? And so I kind of sit down and walk them through this process. And this is just a screenshot of the form that we use. It's a doc, and we can both kind of go in and adjust, but it allows them, the first thing I ask them is like, what do you need? What do you want to learn? Like, what do you feel like you need? And so they can kind of set that goal. They give a rationale. I need this because, or this will help me be better because, this will help students learn better because, and then we just talk through like, what do you think you need and who's going to do it? You'll see there's also an evidence. I don't know if it may be kind of tiny. It's tiny for me, even with my bifocals on. But we sift through evidence and we look at over time, like how has it improved teaching and learning using student data as well.
All right.
So I'm sorry.
Nicole, I was going to say, we do have another speaker that we have to get in a little bit here, but if you could wind it up a little bit on yours, I'd appreciate it. And thank you for this great information. If anybody has any questions, by the way, make sure you put them in the chat, and we can get those answered at the end here.
I will just say in closing, that was a smooth way to say, hurry up, girl, be quiet. I love it. I'll just say in closing, one of the ways that we've provided choice in my district is just micro-credentialing. We badge everything. If teachers say they need it, I will create a badge for it, or I will sit down with them one-on-one, and that has been very successful. And so I will be quiet because I want to make sure that the last speaker has enough time to share his awesome also, but you guys can feel free to reach out to me or throw any questions in the chat as well. Thanks so much.
Well, that's awesome, Nicole. Thank you. We did get a request in the chat if you could share that personalized PD form. If you could, I don't know if you could put it in the chat there, but that would be great. And all the presentation and resources are going to be on the hub after the event, plus the recording of this session as well. So thank you for your expertise there, and I appreciate your enthusiasm in personalized professional development. Matt Joseph, take it away. Dr. Matt Joseph.
All right, thank you, Phil. I'm just jumping on here, and I know we got about 13 minutes left, so if you have a question, just throw it into the chat, and I don't have that chat window open, so Phil, you see one come in, just let me know. And one of the things that I wanted to share in my role as the Curriculum Instruction Assessment Director, I do a lot with the professional development in our district. But one of the things that we shifted to is that when we talk about professional development, we think about people come, you do something to the people, they learn something, and then what happens? We've been really phrasing it differently as professional learning. How are we creating professional learning opportunities? How do we have the chance to take our individuals, provide a skill, and have them learn it, retain it, and then transfer that information into their own learning? And that's some of the strategies that I'm going to share today, because the first thing when you start to do this professional learning, especially virtually, which is tricky, is how are you going to start building relationships with the folks that you are going to support? How are you going to start with that connection with the individuals that you are going to work with? Here we only had 45 minutes with 3 speakers. It was a little bit difficult, but when you're in your own districts, find a way to build relationships with the staff that you are going to provide this information for. Because if you're going to go in and tell others how to do something, you're not going to be seen as showing them that respect. You're not going to show the value that they can bring. And it's a two-way street, just like with students. You don't going to go in the first day and tell them how to learn. You want to build that relationship. So what are some of the skills that you can do within your own district? And if it's virtually, how can that happen? Do that first. This is the foundation before any professional learning can happen. Because if people don't see you as supporting their growth, they're not going to buy into you, and it's not going to be relevant. So before we even talk about the strategies for some professional learning, make sure you're building those relationships. Because what you are doing when you're providing professional learning, not just virtually, maybe online, you're going to a conference, you're not saying that you have to change. You may think it, and people might have to do a lot of changing, but what you're actually doing is going from one place to another. Individuals have a current performance where they are. March 12th, I don't know how many people actually knew how to use online conferencing. We didn't say you had to change everything. We said, the gap that we want to get to is that you can use it. So when we talk about professional learning, sometimes we think too globally and too large. What we're doing is just taking that one step. Our current performance, we're providing information, we're getting the individuals to a desired performance. Whatever that is, that's actually the goal of your professional learning. Where I've seen districts fail is when they set these enormous goals that we're going to do this professional learning and our teachers are going to get this exponentially better and exponentially new skills and 7 new things. Well, how is that actually closing the performance gap? We're at a performance right now. We need to get to a desired performance. That's your professional development plan. And to do that, if you go too fast, if you go too large, everyone's just going to revert back and do it the old way. But at the same point, I said at the start, we don't need to say you need to change. So you have to find that balance, and talking about performance gap or whatever works for your verbiage, I think is the way to go. Because when we look at this, I'm going to come at it from a district lens. I've been a district leader for now going on my 5th year. When we look at the professional development needs, we have to look at how does this fit our K-12 population, learners and teachers. And if we're doing this professional learning in isolation, then it's not going to have value across your district. Your professional learning plan has to tie into your district improvement plan so that it's relevant. When we talk about digital tools, how are they relevant to the instructional strategies within your district improvement plan? So all of these things have to come together to have relevant professional learning for your staff, which they can learn, retain, and transfer to their own teaching. That's the bottom line of what we're doing. So I'll share a few.
I'm gonna interrupt you just for a second because I think there's a pertinent question. It says one of the persons said to assess needs, do you use a survey? She says, I'm going into a new school and a district as an instructional technology specialist. What do you suggest as far as that goes?
So is the question, let's see if I can see.
Assessing the needs of the staff. What tools do you use to assess? Do you just use a survey, or do you have some tricks on that?
Well, first of all, the needs will be directly related to the goals of the district. So if the improvement goals are, I'm just making something up because I didn't see the question. If the goal is to increase student voice within a district, then you would set out like, here's where we're going with that. We want to increase student journaling or whatever it is. I'm just making it up because I know we're a little pressed for time on the suggestion. At that point, you create your survey around the specific need and pathway that you're going to go. It may not even be a survey because cripes, aren't we all surveyed out at this point? This is where the leader comes into play. This is where you have to have a pulse of your building. You have to know where people's comfort level is. And I'm going to talk a little bit about a strategy in a minute that may answer this. I know that we could dive deep into this, but it starts at the top. The first slide I said was about relationships. If you have relationships with your staff and that you know where they are, you have that ability and trust to ask them, that's the first way to do it. I think we've all had to pivot. We've all had to change our lens on professional learning, because how many of us sat in meetings that looked like this and people are still looking to try to figure out what's going on online. So this isn't easy. So to have strategies, to have really targeted methods is going to help you. The first thing that happens is you can't get somewhere if you don't know how to get there. So I know I'm not going to read through all of this. This is all going to be online. But the big thing I can frame it with is if you don't have a plan, when you're creating whatever, it could be this 45 minutes. If we don't have a goal of what we're doing and we don't know the topic and we don't know where we're going, then it's going to be a waste of people's time. And if people come in virtual or in person and about 25 minutes in, you're like, I don't even know why I'm here. It's not going to have value. And if you're not providing that value for teachers, then they're not going to come back. They might show up the first time, but they're not coming back if they're not seeing the purpose. And that's why when the question came in about the needs assessment, if it's linked to the goal, the district goal, which should be linked to the school improvement goal, that should then be linked to the teacher improvement goal. All of these things link.
Excellent tie-in. Excellent.
Well, thank you, Phil. The other thing when we devise these plans is the more consistent, the better. The more that teachers, staff, leaders can have an understanding of when something happens, then they can calendar around it, especially with a virtual piece. The other thing that we did, at least in Leicester, is we scaled back. And I talked actually a little bit about this. I saw Carl and Adam on this on their podcast. We go slow to go far. We said, there's 1,000 tools out there. I'm not giving professional development on all 1,000 of them. Here's 4. Let's go real deep and show how they do go pre-K to 12. These things work throughout, and then we develop our professional development around the instructional practices. So this was one of our first steps when we went digital, and it's continued throughout moving forward. From there, then you can start, which went to the pivot with a plan, you can start creating your professional learning opportunities around the goals that you want to bring your students and staff. And once you have that direction, that plan, you built those professional relationships, people are going to come and know they're going to walk away learning something. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to drive people to professional learning opportunities, that they're going to leave with something that they can apply into what they're doing. So a few other keys to success as we move forward. The first one is I have found value with roles. I see Christine Ravasi on here. She did help me a lot with some of the professional I did. She was the moderator like you're doing, Phil, giving me questions. I'm not even looking at it. I'm going. And having these people in the background helping you out allows you to do your role as the lead facilitator, and then others to take notes, because I'm not taking notes. Carl's taking notes. Phil's moderating. We're kind of keeping our own time. We're not doing small groups. But if you have these in place, it runs smooth. And when you have a set amount of time, you want to make sure these things are in place. The second thing, and really the first thing, is you're not having fun, then what the heck are we doing? We're in a stressful enough time. On Fridays, we'd have hat days. We do different things. This is one of our hat days. Like, have a little fun in here, because if you're not, man, this is going to be tiresome. And the last few keys to success is, this goes to the survey you were talking about. Know where the educator's current performance is and meet them there. If you want to take them that next step to close the performance gap, fabulous. If you want to take them 7 steps in the first professional learning opportunity, you've lost them. Don't overplan. I know we want to stress a lot and get a lot, and I'm talking super fast because I want to make sure I get some information to you. I'm telling you, don't do that because it's not the most efficient way to do it. And you feel stressed because you're trying to take all of this in. I'm talking faster. Now I'm modeling what not to do right now. Also, I'm the only one talking here. I never would like to run a professional learning opportunity where I'm the only one talking, because the amount of people in here, the vast value that they have. Right now, we're using the chat to get that experience out, but make sure you use that as well. And at the end, make sure you celebrate, because you all gave up a Friday today to be with us. You all put the time in to be here. And for that, you have to make sure to sit back and say, I put the time, effort for my students. So make sure you do that as a facilitator. I think we're going to celebrate today at 5. And when in doubt, go back to number 1. If nothing else, just make fun of the moderator, joke around a little bit, and this is what the staff will remember. So I know this was super fast. The other thing I wanted to just quickly share, Twitter chats, books, webinars, podcasts like Adam and Phil's podcast. Like, check these things out, because these are also opportunities for professional learning. And if this was way too fast, email me and I'll go slower, and we'll talk another time. Awesome
job to all our presenters. Thank you, Matt. There's the old analogy of drinking through a fire hose, and I think I heard loud and clear that's not what you want to do in this.
Not at all.
You want to develop those relationships, and I think that's really important. I think that's the key to all of this, is developing those relationships, and sometimes it involves tech, sometimes it doesn't involve tech. So that is awesome. Thank you, all 3 of you, for presenting. There was a couple of questions. There was one question about learning walks, and we only have a couple of minutes left to answer these questions, but somebody was asking about learning walks can help you figure out the needs of your staff. I would imagine, Matt, you subscribe to that idea as well?
Yes.
And let's see. I was going to try and figure out, I'm looking through the chat to see if there's any other questions that people were talking about. It's important to have fun, and I fully agree with you on that. I think we're all having fun today, Friday. Anybody else have any final questions if you want to chime in?
I saw a couple things in there. I'm just going to jump in. A lot about learning walks, and I just, what a learning walk is you set a target. What are you looking for? Student talk, information, applying learning, and you go as a group and you walk through classrooms, obviously now with a mask and staying far away from people. However, you walk through a subset of classrooms, and then you come back and you meet as a team to say, what did you see? What did you see? What did you see? That's another way to do a needs assessment. You don't ask anybody. Go check it out. Go have a pulse of the building and come back. That's what a learning walk, that's a 3-second verse of an enormous long book from Elizabeth City about what learning walks are.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you, everyone, for sharing your expertise to our panel, and then everybody
You're welcome,
else
Melissa.
Jumping in there on the questions and offering some ideas. Thank you for putting some of those resources in links as far as the book that Nicole referenced as well. Thank you for putting that in there. I know Matt referenced a wonderful podcast that Carl Hooker and Adam File are doing now. And he's put the link in there as well. So that's awesome. Make sure you tap into that. That's a weekly thing, I think, on every Wednesday for sure, probably Wednesdays and Sundays, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Phil. And the other thing, I know we're going to take a break now, but this link is going to be the same for this room the entire day. So for the session that's coming up next with Christine Racy-Weinstein and Melissa Lisme, I hope I got that right. It's about assessment, and we're talking about tools to do that. Stay tight. You can come right in here. I know Christine's talking about vlogging and using student assessments through that way, and Melissa's going to be talking about surveys in Google Forms. So if you want to continue to learn some about that, stay in this room. You don't even have to log off. Just turn the camera off, and we'll be back here in 15 minutes.
And don't forget, you also have two other rooms, I should say, that you could be tapping into today in Tech and Learning's Leadership Summit Virtual. Thanks again to Tech and Learning and all of our sponsors for making this happen in this very timely moment. Friday seems to work out really well with all the constantly plans that are changing for each state. And as we're thinking about starting school, kicking off here next month right away. So this is very timely information. Please take advantage of all of the sessions that we have if you can. And if you can't make it, if you can't be in 3 places at once, obviously at the end of the day, there's going to be recordings, tap into those. And if you are tweeting and doing some social media about today's event, make sure you use the hashtag TLTechLive. Thank you to our panelists, Nicole and Eileen and Matt, for a wonderful session. And stay tuned for the next session in this room here. And I'm going to be signing off as moderator for this session and signing in as moderator for another wonderful session by Sandra Paul and Adam File. So you can join me in that room if you'd like, coming up here at 12 noon Eastern time. Have a good day, everybody.